Hello, my name is Rich Engelhard, and today we're going to take a look at a Revenue Cloud demo, specifically around recurring revenue, services, and renewals. So our agenda is here. We're going to take a couple quick highlights of what is Revenue Cloud, and we're going to let you know really who is this demo for. If you'd like to stay and watch, absolutely, but there is a specific audience for this demo. We'll take a look at that. We'll take a look at who we are, and then we'll jump into the demo. So what is Revenue Cloud? Well, Revenue Cloud is Salesforce's quote to cash product that replaces the former Salesforce CPQ product and allows companies to be able to sell to their customers using Salesforce. It consists of a great product catalog management solution, the CPQ or configure price quote solution to actually generate a quote document, price it, and send out that to a client. Also includes contract lifecycle management and being able to manage both subscription contracts that you would be selling through the process as well as legal documents with redlining. It has order management, including being able to decompose an order and be able to have a process for your ordering team to be able to follow outside of the sales process. It includes asset lifecycle management and being able to see current MRR, current quantities, and what that asset looks like over the life cycle that the client has had it for, as well as billing and invoicing, which is pretty straightforward around what that looks like. All of that's done in a way that allows you to sell across multiple channels. So it doesn't matter if you are selling direct to your customer through your website, you can tie it all into Salesforce Revenue Cloud and take in quotes, take in orders directly, take in shopping carts, and I'll tie it through the same pricing engine, the same product engine, etc. Handles subscriptions, consumption-based products or usage, physical product, etc. All built on the Salesforce platform and built with Agentforce within it as well. So, who is this demo for? Well, anyone looking for, a general overview of Revenue Cloud. We're going to be reviewing Revenue Cloud and quoting, and so if your company does that, then it is something valuable for you. However, we're going to be taking a look at B2B company use cases, and we are going to be looking at specifically recurring revenue products and services. And we're going to be generating documents for customer sign-off, right? Could be a quote document, order form, lots of different names that companies may use for their document. But essentially, your most common use case is you're going to send out a document for your customer to sign or give you a PO number back from, and after that, you're going to continue your process. And finally, not only are you going to have that initial sale, but if you have that renewal process need, we're going to be covering that too. So, who is Engelhard Consulting? Well, we've been a lead to cash partner of Salesforce's since 2018, and we have worked across the Salesforce platform with various Salesforce clouds, helping companies be able to streamline and optimize their Salesforce implementations with a big focus around quoting and the sales process and downstream business processes that relate to quoting. So what makes us unique? Well, we are very process focused. We want to know your business, understand your business, and help you through those processes, what could be improved, changed, etc. We're also driven by that user experience, whether it's the user interface and making sure it's clean and easy to understand, or whether it's through an automation to reduce the amount of clicks and make it easier for your users to actually use. And we're all based in the United States of America, all employed by Engelhard Consulting. We also are the makers of Flow Components and Lead Relationships, both free apps on the App Exchange. So now we're going to go through actually creating a quote in our demo org. And as a little bit of a background, we are going to pretend that we are a company selling software that also has implementation services to a prospect, Acme Incorporated. We're going to already have that opportunity record created. And then what we're going to do is from that opportunity record, we're going to create a quote and add products to that quote. Let's check it out. All right, we're going to start our demo from our opportunity. So as we mentioned, we have our opportunity for Acme Incorporated. We have Piper Price as our primary contact. So we're going to go ahead and click our new quote button. From here, we can see our quote name is automatically filled out with our opportunity name. Perhaps we want to change this. It does have op, so we'll go ahead and put in quote. Our contact automatically pulls in. Our expiration date is to the end of the month. And in this case, we are going to sync this quote with the opportunity. So we're going to go ahead and click save. We've been brought right into the quote. As you can see, this is the transaction line editor. And so this is where all of your quote lines will show up, your totals, etc. From the top here, we have a Browse Catalogs. So we're going to start with that. So let's click on Browse Catalogs. And the first thing you're going to see is we're automatically pulled into our product list here. This user experience can be changed. In this case, we've set a default product catalog as main, but there are multiple product catalogs that we could select from. For our ease of use, user experience, we say, you know what, we want to select this catalog, reduce the number of clicks so they don't have to select the catalog and click next. And then we are going to use our categories kind of as that quick filter. So if I wanted to look at just my software products, I can click on software. If I wanted to look at just my services products, I can look at my services products. We're going to go back to all products just to make it easy. And here we see our implementation enterprise. Now we are going to be selling them enterprise licenses, 250 of them. And we are going to start with our implementation. It's here at the top. So we're simply just going to click configure. So we do need to configure our implementation product. And what we have here is a required field. It says number of users to be trained. I've put that under a tab called service questions. So as you think about implementations, a lot of times there might be certain questions that your implementation team wants to have the sales team ask to be able to help make that implementation a little bit easier. So you can add these questions here. As you can see, I have a message that says it's required. So there's a lot of great use cases within the product configurator to be able to require certain fields to be filled in called attributes. It could also require certain fields, exclude certain fields depending on what it's doing. It could change prices. So a lot of capabilities. In this case, we're simply just going to enter in 250. And from there, you're going to see our message is now gone. Now, I have to scroll right now to see that bottom piece. So on the top right, some of our options is we do have a compact mode. That compact mode, as you can see, changes that user interface a little bit, puts everything a little bit closer together. So we're going to actually go ahead and keep that on. And then in this case, I have a product for architect, consultant, developer, and project manager. These would translate directly into a project management resource system. But from here, I really don't know what the price of the implementation enterprise is. So I can always click on instant pricing. And when I do that, I can see the architect is 60 hours at $300 an hour to get me to 18,000, etc., all the way down to my grand total of 97,500. This looks great. I'm going to go ahead and click Save and Exit. That brought me back to my browse products. And so now we need to add our enterprise license. So I'm simply going to add 250 because we do want 250 enterprise licenses. So we're simply going to click Add and Save Quote. So now that we've done that, a couple things that we'll be able to see is on our implementation, all of these products are connected, similar to like a bundle. Perhaps it could be bundle focus, it could just be a roll up total. But as you can see, I've created a field here called package total to roll up my individual lines. So all of those lines have been rolled up individually to my package total. Now from here, I'd actually like to give a discount talking with our customer. And we want to, instead of using an amount, we want to use a percentage. And we're just going to say we want to give them a 10% discount. So once we've done that, if we click enter, that will lock that in. And now we can see here that if we click save, it's going to calculate our quote with that 10% discount, and our net unit price will go from 1200 to 1080. Now, when that happens, if you actually hover over and click, we can see here that our price book entry was 1200. We've now given a 10% discount, which is equal to $120, and our net unit price is 1080. So this gives us a great understanding of how did we actually arrive at that price. Now this could be added in with volume discount entries, attribute-based pricing. So if I, would have said, hey, 250 users, hey, we need to add a little bit more to that price, or reduce the price, right? Whatever that may be. All of those changes can be reflected here. The other thing that we can see, and this is something that we've built for our clients, is we have a tab called Scope. And we do have another video that talks about our services piece, but we do have right here, we've brought in the project scope from the product. So on the product, we have a field called project scope that has our scope, and we could easily come in here and edit this scope. Now this could be done only for certain people with the right permissions. If this scope gets edited, it goes for approval. So there's a lot of logic that you can also add around there. But for now, our goal was to create a quote and add our products to it. And so we've done that. All right, next up, we are going to take a look at approvals. So for the background, our quote has been completed. We've added our discount, and now we want to submit it for approval. So we're going to take a look at what that submission process looks like. Then we're going to take a pause, look at what the approver sees. Then we're going to go back as the user and be able to see that quote as approved. We'll also take a look at the out-of-the-box email that comes with it as well. Okay, so now we're going to submit this quote for approval and go through what that approval process looks like. We're going to come up to submit for approval. We're going to click that, enter in our comments, and we're going to say discount to win the deal. All right, so we're going to click next, and that goes through our approval submission. From there, an email will be generated to the approver. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that over in. And as we can see here, I have an approval action from Salesforce. Now, this email is customizable, so you can customize this email. As you can see, we can also reply to this email and say approve, approved, or yes to approve it, or reject, rejected, or no in the first line. And then any comments are added to the second line of the reply, and that would go back into the system. In this case, we're going to click on record and be taken back into our quote. So as a reviewer, I can see that this quote is in review, and I can go to approvals. You'll also notice that scope tab is gone. We don't want that to be edited after it's been submitted for approval. So as you can see here, we have all of our approval work items that have been assigned or have been previously approved. And in this case, I have my actual work guide. So in this case, I can see here, I have my discount stage and I have a discount approval that is needed. So I have an approval decision. I can approve or reject and add in some comments. So I'm going to say, let's win this. And I'm going to simply click finish. Now, one other thing as an approver that I could do is I could come here to the approval information. I see the submitted date, time, who submitted it, as well as what those submission comments were. Now, as the user who submitted the approval, I have an email that has come back that has a note that says, my submission for this record has a changed status and my final status is approved. So now I can simply click on my record as my user and I can get to my quote and see that my quote has now been approved. And that's our approval process. Okay, now that our quote has been approved, we need to actually generate a document to send to our prospect. So we're going to take you through what that looks like, not only from generating the document, we'll take a look at the document, send it out for email, and see where it's stored within Salesforce. All right, so now that our quote has been fully approved, we see we have a new button up at the top right called Generate Quote Doc. So we're simply going to go ahead and click on that button. That button is going to launch our OmniScript, and it's going to be able to generate our document for us. We're going to take a couple look at a couple things here as our document is generated. First off, this document is going to be automatically saved to our quote, so we'll be able to take a look at that in a second. We see here that there is a download PDF, so if I did want to save this to my computer, I could do that. I can see the preview of my quote here. So as we can see, we have our 250 enterprise licenses for 270,000. That included our unit price. Again, this is all customizable. Word-based templates. So if I did want to show list price minus discount, I could do that. If I just want to show my unit price, I can do that. And we can change this up however you may want. Additionally, we have our statement of work. And we can see here our number of users to be trained is 250. We have printed our project scope here, and we have our total price listed at the bottom. And we have a third page here for signatures. So this looks pretty good for us. If we were to keep scrolling, we can see we can email this PDF. So I'm simply just going to click email PDF, and that's going to go ahead and email off the PDF to our contact on the quote. So for this case, we're going to click return to quote now. And if we go to related, we'll see that we have our new file here. When we click on it, again, this is the same document that we just previously saw. And since our main contact is Piper Price would have received our email, as we can see here. So we have an activity record that has been created for our quote document. And if we were to actually click onto that activity record, we can see here that our attachment, also same document, has been attached to this email and sent over to Piper Price. All right, that is how we generate a quote document with Revenue Cloud. All right, so we've sent our prospect the quote, and guess what? They said, yes, we like it. Here's a PO. So now we're going to take a look at what that process is. And through that acceptance process, this is one of those pieces that we've automated a lot of. And so as part of that process, we're going to take a look at a contract getting generated to manage the subscription contract. We're going to take a look at the order getting created, and then we're going to go and take a look at that contract and see that our assets are there. So we've sent out our quote to our prospect, Piper Price, and Piper said, hey, this looks great. We want to move forward. So Piper sent us over a PO. So we're going to simply click accept quote to say, hey, this was the quote that Piper accepted, that Acme Incorporated is going to be able to execute. From that perspective, our quote is already syncing. So that is one thing to note. If we were to actually go to our opportunity, we can see here our products are on the opportunity. Our opportunity has been updated with the correct amount, so this is great. But as part of our accept quote button, we actually make sure that the quote that was selected does get synced. But for now, we're simply going to go ahead and click accept quote. Now, we're going to ask for that PO number. So we're going to say our PO number was this number. Our bill to contact is pulling in Piper Price. We could change that if needed. And we're pulling in the address for Acme Incorporated. All this looks good, so we're going to click next. And when we click next, a few things are actually happening in the background, right? So as we think about order management and being able to have the contract as well, the first thing is that we do see a contract was created, 142. So we've created this contract automatically with our start and end date as our quote dates. And we can see an order has been created. So if we go to our order, this is typically your integration point into an ERP system, right? We want to let the ERP system know what was purchased, what the price of it was that was purchased. And so we're able to integrate into other systems through here. Now, as I've mentioned, there is a whole dynamic revenue orchestration where you can decompose and orchestrate orders for other teams and other processes. We're not going to look into that right now, but simply to say, hey, this was our order. Some of our clients like their accounting team to be able to review every order, make sure it all matches correctly, and work through that process before they activate it. In this case, we've auto-activated it. If your customer might be signing via electronic signature, that is a great, easy way to be able to auto-activate an order because you know what was sent from Salesforce is what was signed directly. But in this case, again, we're simulating through that, hey, the quote was right, the order was right. And so from here, this is where you'll be able to see again all of your order start date, end date, who you're billing it to, and if we were to go back to the quote, we can see here now our quote's been accepted. Go back to our order, it's been activated, our contract has been activated, and so from that perspective, we're ready to look into the asset relationships. So we've gone through that order process and went to the asset. Now we're going to take a look at the asset lifecycle review. So we're just going to pause here for a minute and actually look at the MRR and various things within that asset. Okay, great. So our quote was ordered, our contract was created, we have everything ready to go. So let's take a look at our assets. Well, the first thing you're going to notice is that we have these asset contract relationships with our start date and end date. So this is the start and end date for License Enterprise for this contract, and we'll take a look at how that's affected later with our renewal. But for now, we're simply just going to click on Assets, and here are all of our assets that we have. Specifically, we're going to take a look at the License Enterprise asset. So we're going to click View. And a couple things right off the bat that we see our current monthly recurring revenue is 22,500. Our current ARR is 270,000, and our total lifecycle amount is 270,000 as well. Now, in our org, we have set our renewal term just to be 1 year, but we've done that through a 12-month process. We also have a 5% uplift that we've put into our contracts that allows us to be able to increase by 5%. We'll take a look at that on our amendment part of the demo. And our pricing source for this asset is last transaction, which means when we create an amendment, we're going to use the last transaction price. So because we gave a discount and our price was 1080, when we get to the amendment, we should see that as 1080 instead of 1200. But the nice part that we really want to take a look at with asset lifecycle management is the dashboard. So as we can see here, today we have a quantity of 250 and we have our monthly recurring revenue of 22,500. And over time, we're going to see these changes as well as through renewals. So this is a really great way to be able to see your asset and be able to understand what those changes are, etc., to that asset. Now, under related, we also have asset actions and asset state periods. So that asset action, as we can see here, is initial sale. We're changing our quantity to 250 and our change in monthly recurring revenue is 22,500. If we click into that asset action, we can see a little bit more detail, what our total quantity is, what the amount is, any discounts that we've done with the change in the amount. So the list price is 300,000. We had a 30,000 discount, and our change in subtotal now is 270,000. Additionally, we see our asset state periods. And so in this case, our asset state period for the moment is the entire 1 year of the contract. Our quantity is 250 and our monthly recurring revenue is 22,500. So this gives us that state period. So we will continue to take a look at the asset lifecycle management as we get into amendments and renewals. All right, so our customer has reached out to us and said, we like the product a lot. We want to add a few more users. And so we're going to take a look at what that amendment process looks like to be able to add some additional users to your customer's contract. Right, so we took a look at asset lifecycle management, and now we're going to jump into the amendment process. So just clicking back to our contract, we see that we have our assets and we want to add additional licenses here. Piper called us back and said, hey, this product's great. We want to add 50 more. So we're simply going to click amend, and we're going to pretend that this happened in the future. So since our start date was October 10th, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ahead, and we'll go to April 10th. So we'll simply click submit here. And we get a little notification here saying that, hey, this is a future dated amendment. Once we do this, we can't do another amendment before that scheduled amendment date. So we're pretending we're in the future, but if you were to do this in real life, you wouldn't be able to do an amendment, say tomorrow, with tomorrow's date because we've scheduled an amendment in the future. So we're okay with that. We understand that it has to be sequential for our amendments. And so the first thing that you'll notice when we go to our amendment is our net unit price is 1080. And so we do have that last transaction that I had mentioned before to say, hey, use that last price. You can also see here we have our start quantity is 250. And so what is our quantity for this amendment? Well, in this case, we're going to add 50 more licenses. And when we do that and click save, it's going to update our end quantity to 300. Pretty straightforward. And the last thing that you'll see is because this was not a full term, our total price is actually prorated based on the rest of the term. So that is, optional. You can prorate based on the day, have different proration capabilities, not prorate at all. But those are some of those options. I've also had my opportunity amendment here that allows me to know that, hey, I have an opportunity for this amendment. If I click on details, my contract has been selected. I have my quote line start date, my quote line's end date, and everything I need to know about my amendment. Now, in this case, as we know, the net unit price is 1080, not 1200, but I haven't given any additional discount or done anything like that. So I'm going to actually submit this for approval. And when I submit for approval, you'll notice that it automatically went to approved. I don't actually need to have somebody review this because I'm using last transaction. That was the price of the last transaction. I haven't given any extra discount, so there is no approval needed in my use case. Again, completely customizable to your organization and how you might want to do it. When I click Generate Quote Doc, now this is the exact same template that we had previously, and it is a dynamic template. Since we don't have any of our scoped products or implementations, you won't see that section on here, but you will see our section 450. So again, our unit price is 1080, we have 50, and we only have it through 410 through 109, and so we have our total price for 50. When we come down, we can see all the terms here are agreed upon, and we don't have our SOW page. Again, same template, nice and dynamic, and again, we can email that. It sent it out. If we were to actually take a look at the original email, I do have that available to show from before, but let me pull that up. And again, just a standard email. And as we can see here, I have my attachment. This was the original attachment with that statement of work. So an email will get sent to be the same style, but with this new document. Again, my activity has been recorded, and I have it related as a file as well. So we're going to say here that Piper said, yep, this looks great. We want you to go ahead and process it. So we're going to give it a new PO number in this case. Again, also customizable depending on what you're trying to do. So we simply click next. And this contract has already been created, right? So there is no need to create a new contract. But if we look on orders and refresh our page, we'll see that our order has been created, again, for that same contract. So if we click into it, we have just our license enterprise. We see that the quantity has increased, which is great that we understand what that is. And so if we actually go look at that contract, we can see here we have our quotes, we have our orders, we have our asset contract relationships. So I'm just going to simply click assets, and then I'm going to click view. So I've gone back to my license enterprise, and as you can see, our current quantity is 250. That's right, we didn't change this till halfway through the year. So Our current ARR is still 270, but you're going to see our total lifecycle amount now has been updated with that total amount. So this is the total amount of our lifecycle. If we click on our dashboard, we can see here that, hey, April 10th, we have a change and we've gone from 250 to 300, as well as our monthly recurring revenue has changed. So if we go back to related, we're going to see our asset actions. So we had our initial sale as an asset action, and now we have an upsell. And our asset actions are going to show what the changes were. So as you can see, we have a change in quantity of 50 and a change in MRR of 4,500. So this is the incremental changes of what's happened. But now our asset state periods have changed. If you remember, our initial asset state period was 10/10/2025 through 10/9/2026. But now that's changed. Because we changed quantities, that asset state period gets updated and reflected, not only because of quantities, it could be various other reasons, but essentially what it's doing is it's capturing and saying, hey, from this date to this date, this is what the MRR is and this is what the quantity is. And on the next one, we can see, hey, starting on 410, we went to 300. So if you think about the graph view that we just saw, this is where that graph view pulls that information from, right? It's pulling what that total quantity is and what that total price is versus just the incremental changes. All right, so that is taking a look at the amendment process. Well, our client's pretty happy and it's getting close to renewal time, so we've contacted them and they've said yes, they'd like to renew and ask for that renewal quote. So we're going to go through the process and show you what that looks like, as well as how we've been forecasting for that renewal the entire time. All right, so now it's been a few more months and Piper is ready to talk renewal. So let's take a look at how that works. The first thing that we're going to do is actually go to the account. Because we've had a renewal opportunity created this entire time. So in this case, I've renamed our opportunity to Renewal 2026 because that's when the year of the renewal, and it's a New Biz Enterprise quote. So that's what we had named the opportunity previously, New Biz Enterprise quote. As we can see, our New Biz Enterprise quote. So I've just kept that same opportunity name and just added Renewal 2026 to it. So let's click into it. If we take a look, you can see that our renewal was first created at 220 and has been updated on 231. And that's because our quantity got adjusted from 250 to 300. So this is going to track those quantity changes. It is going to process all of that. And now that we have a renewal opportunity, so we've been forecasting on this, we can forecast our licensed enterprise product, how many of those we think, what that total amount is going to be. This is going to work with all of your sales forecasting processes. Now we can say we're ready for that actual quote. Our renewal also starts in proposal price quote because we know that's where we're at. But again, you could have a completely separate list of activities for the renewal process with their own stages. So we're simply going to click renewal quote. And when we do that, the system automatically knows what it needs based on the opportunity, based on the contract, and it's actually going to go through and process that renewal quote without any input from you. So as we can see here, our quote is syncing. It's tied to our opportunity, and we have our grand total. Now, as we take a look below, you can see our net unit price actually has an uplift, right? So it was that 1080 price, and now we've added our uplift of $54. And so our total net unit price now is $1,134. There are two avenues that we could go. We could give a discount and go back down. And if we did that, we would need to have an approval for that discount. In this case, we want to show that, hey, I haven't discounted it. The 1080 was previously approved. It's added that 5% uplift. And so we don't think there actually should be any approval required. In this case, in talking with Piper, we do see that our quantity should be 350 though. They've added some people. This is going great. And so they're very happy. Our start date, as you can see, is the 10th of next year. So I think this looks good to go. We're going to go ahead and click submit for approval. Again, we're not going to put anything in that approval process. And because we didn't have a discount and no other items that would have caused an approval needed, it's automatically been approved. So again, if we click Generate Quote Doc, we're going to take a look at our quote document, and this quote document is now going to reflect the 350 total, because at a renewal, we're not showing just the change. We're showing, hey, this is the total of how many you're going to renew. So we have our license enterprise for 350, our total price, our start and end dates. This looks great, ready for signature. So we will go ahead and email this out over to Piper, and we're going to return the quote. So now Piper Price says, you know what, this looks great. I'm going to send you over a PO number. We have a new PO number, and we will go ahead, click next, accept our quote. Now, this time, something slightly different has happened. Because our previous contract had different dates, we have now created a new contract, 143. So our new contract has our new contract start and end dates. And so if we click on our contract, we'll see that our contract, we're again pretending we're in the future, has been activated. We have our quotes here, and we have our details. So again, I've set our renewal term for this contract to be 12 months. Pricing source again is going to be that last transaction. Now I don't have a unit price uplift on the contract itself. I've set it on the asset level directly, but that could be, managed as an override here to say on this contract we want to override the standard and maybe make it 3% or 0 or whatever it may be, and be able to leverage that as we go through the process. But for now, we're simply going to come here, click on orders, and our order has been created and it has been activated. So again, this is going to be able to sync into your ERP system, wherever it may be. And if we go back to our contract one more time, we see our asset contract relationship. As you can see, this time we only have the license enterprise, because for this contract, we don't have that initial implementation. That was part of the original contract. On the renewal contract that we have, we simply just have license enterprise. If I go to my assets, I can see my license enterprise asset. And if I actually come here and click view, you can see that, hey, our current lifecycle start date was on 10/10/2025. And so our new current lifecycle end date, is 4/9/2026. That is when our first amendment was. But our total lifecycle end date is 10/9/2027. So this is the same asset from our original contract, extended out to be adding in the new contract year. If we click on related, we'll see our asset actions. We have our initial sale, our upsells, and then renewals. Now you'll see renewals has a change in quantity. Again, asset actions are going to be all of those changes. Our change in monthly recurring revenue also went up because our price went up and we added. So it's not that same 4,500, it is different. And then we have our asset state periods. So again, our asset state period, our current period that we're in, because it's 10/10, goes through 4/9/2026, and that was reflected on our current lifecycle end date. And then we have our start date for the new asset state period, and then the start date and end date for our renewal contract. So if we go to our dashboard, how does that get reflected? Well, we can see each step that we've taken through this asset's lifecycle with renewal to say, hey, October of 2026, we now have a quantity of 350 with our new monthly recurring revenue. So this is how Revenue Cloud allows you to manage your assets, amend them, renew them, and track them all for your clients. And that's the end of the demo. Now, that's not the end of everything that Revenue Cloud can do. Revenue Cloud, as I said, has a robust product management solution that allows you to, require certain products or prevent certain products from being on the same quote together. It has much deeper order decomposition. It has full redlining capabilities with a contract lifecycle management. So think of your master services agreements, your NDAs. Those are all things that could be done with Revenue Cloud. We'll continue to build out some of those demos for you so that way you can understand all that Revenue Cloud has to offer. But again, this is our quick view demo of a great user experience for your sales user working with your customer. Thank you so much for joining us. For more information, please connect with us on our website, engelhardconsulting.com. Thank you so much.